G'day and welcome to the Hunters Campfire Podcast. My name's Mark and along with good mate Ian, we're here to help with all things hunting. If you're looking to start but don't know where to begin, you want to make the most of your next trip away or even plan that hunt of a lifetime, we've got something for you. You'll find our podcasts on Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon and plenty of others. And if you want more, head over to our YouTube channel, The Hunters Campfire, where we have plenty of how-to and hunting videos along with the full video production of every podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and good hunting.
Good evening, Mark. Good evening, Paige.
Good evening, John, and good evening, Paige. How are you?
Yeah, good. How are you guys?
Very
Good.
well.
Good, thank you.
That's good.
Enjoying the slightly cooler weather. You know, we're having our pretend autumn.
It's awful.
I enjoy not sweating all the time. There's like a period of my life when I'm a little bit cooler, but we're getting there. I don't want to get too much. I was talking to a guy in Melbourne today and it was 10.5 in the office, and I thought, Jesus Christ, that's a bit rough.
Well, I was down in Melbourne for the Breaded Dealer Day, 2 weeks ago now, and it was, I must say it was a bit cooler. Definitely a lot cooler than Brisbane. I don't think I could live in that, that's for sure.
So before we jump into the podcast tonight with our very special guest, Jono, anything you want to share, wrap-ups, things that happened the last week or 2 weeks?
Nothing really has happened, but what's happening is I'm hoping tomorrow to go to On Target to pick up my new Benelli that's sitting there waiting for me. My nice new rifle in 30-06, a caliber that I said I would never own, but I am really looking forward to picking that rifle up. I know Ian's seen it. I think you've seen it as well, Mark. It's a beautiful piece of work, that. So I'm really looking forward to it. Plus, I've got the Burris sitting there ready to go. So that's going to go on top of that 30-06, and then hopefully get that zeroed, and then next month start chasing some hinds for the hind cull that we need to do. So obviously the raw's pretty much done. I think, you went up to your red deer block last week, didn't you?
I went up Friday. I'm going up this Friday, and then I'm going up the following Friday, and then because of family stuff, I'm going to probably have to take a break for 6 weeks or so. So I'm trying to get everything I can in now. Okay. While the going is good.
Still any raws up that way, or?
Nope, it's quiet as a mouse.
Yeah, I think it's done.
Got poachers. Got poachers.
They're back, are they? Still there?
Yeah. Well, I got there and I saw pigs, which is pretty rare, but they're there. I mean, I got that tunner on there once, and I've got all that trail cam footage of 3 little pigs. But I saw pigs in the distance. I went, oh, that's pigs. Yeah, it is. And then I heard that. I went, oh, that's pigs. I could hear them, and I watched them go down in the creek and then go up a hill on a neighbour's block, and I went, oh, that's it. See you, pigs. And this is all like before, just on dawn, so my day's ruined already. And so I went over and I found a gut bag, a deer gut bag. So they'd been chewing on that, and that was still pretty fresh. So someone had probably poached in the last 12 hours on that block and shot a deer and just dragged it. Because I was pretty close to the road because I was starting, so they shot it. The only good thing about it was they did it under a tree, and there was a fairly big branch had snapped off, so I was hoping it clonked one of them. And he was laying in Kilcoy Hospital with a broken head, something like that, But no, unfortunately. So I've had 2 run-ins now, or more than 2 run-ins. I've had 3 run-ins now, unfortunately, over the few years I've been going up there. But that's the Brisbane Valley, unfortunately.
Absolutely, especially that close to Kilcoy as well.
Yeah, that's it. It's just convenient, and it's not a big property, but it's easy to sneak in onto a gate at 2:00 in the morning. So that's the trouble. So that was it, unfortunately. So that kind of, I thought, oh well, I probably won't see anything, and I didn't. So I'm going up again, as I said, this Friday, and then I'm going to try and get up there the following Friday, and hopefully drop a deer before I've got to close the gate on my deer hunting for a little while. And that Bellini is that Lupo is a fantastic rifle. I saw that when it came in. I went, oh, Wish I was getting that.
Definitely.
But my fancy BRX in what's been termed Mindcraft camo has arrived too. I got the PDA, so I'm picking that up probably tomorrow or Friday from On Target.
Okay. Well, if you're heading up tomorrow, let me know because I'm going to try to go in the afternoon. Maybe I'll meet you there.
We can do that. I reckon we do that.
We do that. Sounds good.
Okay. So, Paige, anything happening with you you'd like to share?
No, just busy working. We've got a big rest of the week mustering and probably working well into the weekend to get the cattle out down the back country and doing a fair bit of trucking and grading.
Okay. So, look, let's we probably should start then, eh? So, for those listening, we have with us Paige Donald, who had some notoriety a little while ago with the wonderful Survivor show. So I think you're the most famous person we've had on the podcast so far. So you need to take that and you need to take that and run as hard as you can and get as much mileage out of that. Okay, my advice is just wave that flag because this is it. So and I've since that time, since all that shenanigans happened with people making ridiculous comments about you being on that TV show, we've been following you on Facebook and talking and really seeing some of the stuff that you do around contract mustering. Though I haven't actually seen you do mustering, I must admit. I've seen you driving vehicles, I've seen you doing this, but I haven't seen much mustering.
So you don't see much of me mustering because I'm actually working, so I can't film everything.
Yeah, look, well, as I said, I've been quite interested in what we talked about contract mustering, or what do you call it? Broken ass ringing or something.
Busted.
So, busted, not broken, busted. Okay. So, what's the life of a busted ass ringer all about? For those of us who don't know, and I admit I'm probably the first one to admit that I don't know that. So, what's it all about?
Yeah, sure. Basically, I work and live on a cattle station. So I'm up early hours of the morning, and like knocking off late at night most nights. And so essentially, you're making sure the cattle have water, their fences are fine. We're also mustering cattle, whether it's to brand calves or get the steers in to go, on the truck to go and get killed, or you're selling cattle. So essentially, you're just feeding Australia.
Okay. So when it says contract, does that mean are you contracting to one property, or do you kind of move from property to property as a contractor?
Yeah, so I just work for myself, essentially.
Yep.
Yeah,
okay.
I just go from place to place to place. But where I'm at now, I'm kind of permanent until I'm ready to do something new.
Okay. So that movement, is that like, are you following seasons, or is there, what drives other than the fact that, that they might not like you and they kick you off, something like that. That aside, what drives that kind of I understand contracting, for instance, like the building game, because I worked in the building game. So what's the driver for a contract musterer to move from one property to another?
Yeah, so cattle work is seasonal. So you've got your wet season where you can't really do much because it's too wet. But a lot of places I go to are really small, so they've only got a couple weeks worth of work, or 2 months of work, and then you go on to the next place to give a hand. So basically, you're filling in for like someone that should be there, but they just don't have full-time work for somebody.
Okay. So it must be pretty concentrated then, because I'm assuming, those seasons, the drivers at one station, as in the need for you at one station is probably the need at the other station as well. So it's kind of like all in then all out, I'm assuming.
Yeah. So, you're not stop working even though it's a wet season. Like, there's still lots of fencing, grader driving, whether you got to get the dozer out, or any maintenance work really on the station, you can do that in the wet season. But cattle don't stop living and stop breathing and stop eating just because it's a long weekend, it's Christmas Day, or it's a wet season. So you've still got to essentially look after the stock.
Okay. So when I saw you on the grader, was that because I must have, as I said before, I went, really? You're grading that? So what was that an access track you were cutting through, or was that a standard track that had just repaired, or was it for a particular reason, like you wanted to get into somewhere like that, or was it just maintenance?
Yeah, so I was on the grader the other day, and so we got to go out to the back country where there's some clean skins and some like big balls, and the truck is all washed out, so the truck couldn't really get in there to be able to truck the clean skins out. So I jumped on the grader to like clear a track, like not clear a track, but re-go over our track to make it so that the truck can drive over it.
Yeah, okay. So that makes sense. So yeah, so basically it was you were making access for a particular reason rather than maintaining something that was a more used track, because it looked like it looked like you hadn't run over it for a while. So I thought, well,
that's pretty typical.
Yeah, that's right.
Is that typical?
Yeah,
is it?
I don't reckon this one gets run over too often, so there must have been a particular reason.
And obviously, how does one get into contract mustering? Did you grow up on a cattle station, or is it just something you chose to do?
Yeah, wasn't growing up on a station. I was growing up on a farm with just like horses and stuff, but nothing cattle-wise. And when I was 18, I was a little bit lost on what I wanted to do. And then I met a boy, and the boy was said contract musterer. And yeah, he got me like into it and like, put me in the right direction, which I'm very grateful for. So, so I just went on a cattle station doing a season. So from March to like November, kind of like end of November, early December. And then I just travelled around like Queensland, Northern Territory, and then back to Queensland again, just doing a full season. Then I decided that working for myself was better than working for someone else.
Sure.
Definitely.
So again, you're working for yourself. So what's the tools of the trade? What's your kit?
Yeah. So I have my own four-wheel drive, my own float, my own horses, my own saddle tack. Yeah, and a lot of people that do contract muster have work dogs, but I just haven't really got into the work dog scene because I have my pig dogs, which I see as work dogs in my eyes. But a lot of contract musterers have work dogs as well.
Okay. So that must be something that takes a while to build up.
Yeah.
It's quite an outlay.
Yeah, because it must be, I mean, that doesn't sound particularly cheap, so it must be something that takes some time to put together.
Yeah. So it took me quite a few years before I really learnt what I needed. There is places you can go and have no gear and they will supply stuff for you, but I always like having my own horses. I know what they are, I know what they can do. I can get on and go, and then my own saddle, because you don't want to be using other people's stuff and then breaking it. And but yeah, it's just financially, you're just building yourself up, buying things that you need. Yeah.
It's like any contractor, if you're a builder, you get tools. So, yeah.
And that's exactly the way I suppose I'm thinking about it is when I was when I worked on the tools, that's it. You built your own. Well, I was an apprentice, so you kind of had tool allowance, which was always cool because they actually bought them for you. But the idea is over time you build up the kit. But I'm assuming, your kit's far more substantial than what would fit in a van. For instance, I mean, you got the horses, and there's a kind of a rolling circus of all these things that are dependent on you feeding them as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So I also carry my own tools sometimes, like you can have your own welder and generator and stuff like that.
Okay. So the jump from that kind of, season to going to a contract, that must have been a pretty big, decision on your part to kind of go, well, I've done this for a season and I've worked for some people. Now I'm going to crack out on my own.
Yeah.
I mean, what was the motivation for you to say, okay, this is fun, but I think I can make something of this? Because that's what it is, isn't it? You must have been having fun. You thought, well, I can turn this fun into something more permanent, or at least have some permanency and have a crack at it.
Yeah. So more money, definitely. You make more money contracting because when you're a contractor, you're supposed to know what you're doing. You're supposed to be you have that experience. That's why they hire contractors, because they have the experience. So you can charge more money, and it was kind of easy because I had a home base in like Charleville, southwest Queensland, and so go away 2 weeks at a time, then come home, and then so I could kind of like move around, mainly around Tambo. I did a lot of work at Tambo, which I love. At Tambo, it's a great little town, so just more money and more flexibility and freedom for myself. That's the main reason as to why I went into it.
Yeah, we were out that way. We do 2 or 3 road trips a year as a family, and we either go west or we go south. So we as you said, all through that country, it's a fantastic place. Right out to Thargomindah, then up into Quilpie. Yep. We've actually been to Quilpie 3 or 4 times now. Just stayed at Quilpie and met various people there. So it's a lovely country, especially with now that it's got some water out there. It was pretty dry when we first started going out.
Yeah, Quilpie's a nice little town as well. I enjoy Quilpie as well.
That's right. You can get a house for $5,000. You can get a block of land for $11,000 or something at the moment. No, Helen wouldn't go for the idea of that. But anyway, I tried.
I kind of don't blame her. I wouldn't live at Quilpie, but
I tried it. But, yeah.
I haven't been out that way, so I need to do it.
No, it's a lovely bit. It's a wonderful part of the world. I was just trying to think. We were out Eulo actually. We were staying at the Eulo pub, and we when we came back from the road trip, I said to the boys, what'd you like most? And the oldest said something, kind of semi-sensible, and the younger said, I really like Eulo. And I went, really? Because we stayed at the Eulo pub, and we just stayed in one of the dongers. And I said, and it wasn't just an old dong, it wasn't anything that you would write home about. And I said, why'd you like Eulo so much? And he goes, because I got to sleep in the top bunk. And I went, oh, okay, sure, there you go. Drove 3,500 k's so he could sleep in the top bunk. That's it. Good. Put one in the garage would have been right. But, so there's obviously a big part of us, of your life, as you said, you don't have working dogs, or you do, but they're pig hunting dogs. So how'd you find yourself into bailing up pigs?
Yeah. So a bit of a long story, but I've been hunting like my whole life. My grandfather taught me right from a little girl. Me and my best mate Ashley would go out when we were like 11, 12-year-old, our 22s, and just go out and shoot ducks and rabbits, and he'd just leave us go, and we'd just run amok and, just do kid stuff, and it was really good. And then, so originally from Gundawindi or Inglewood area, Gundawindi, no one knows Inglewood, so hard to say Gundy. And like Gundy.
No,
we know Inglewood.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
As public land hunters in New South Wales, there's just over the border there, just below Bonshaw.
Yes.
There's probably the closest state forest that Queenslanders can hunt in New South Wales is just there. Yeah. So you'd be surprised how many people know where Inglewood is, because they're going through there to get to Bonshaw to go hunting. So,
so I'm not far from Bonshaw, our property. It's not far from Bonshaw at all. We actually back onto the state forest.
So you're on the southern side of the road, not the northern, not the Demerrick side.
Yeah, so we're still in the Queensland side, but
okay.
Yeah, so but I think it's Queensland State Forest we back onto.
Okay. Yeah.
So originally from like Inglewood, Gundawindi, and Gundy's like a big pig chasing town, being from.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had a girlfriend at school who was really into it. Her family were into it, and small world, they actually used to go out to Charleville, which I ended up moving to Charleville, which was pretty small. And so I just went with a couple blokes, and kind of got hooked after I stabbed my first pig. And then once I turned 18, I kind of went jillarooing, so I kind of put that to the side because I was just focused on work and just doing all that. And then I just met up with some locals when I was working in Mitchell, and they took me out pigging. And then I got myself a dog after I finished being a ringer for a little while, and I just went out on our home property on foot chasing pigs with this dog that had no idea what I was doing. And he just bailed them up, and I didn't know what I was doing, and it was quite terrible. It's not really safe, but I did that. And then I got with my ex-partner, Mark, and he was full-time roost shooter, pig chaser. And so we just built a team of dogs around that and just spent a lot of years shooting roosts, a lot of pigs, like this mad pig chasing and working in between pig chasing and going out at nights. And then we split after 4 years, and I obviously wanted the dogs. And so there was a bit of a issue with like who got what dogs, and basically said that I wouldn't be able to go hunting anyway, and proved him wrong. So I decided that, you know what, it was you that was making me scared, because you used to tell me it was dangerous and scary, and so, you know, you kind of believe that. And then I was like, you know what, I'm going to do it. And then I got my own little team of dogs and just started going, and then I just built my confidence up each pig, and then it was just unstoppable. I just kept going and hunting nights and days and doing kilometres on my own, just, chasing pigs.
Yeah, we kind of, when you're talking about your family property down in Ingwoods of the State Forest, both John and I are going, oh, yeah, I think we know where that is.
Yeah, I know exactly where it is.
We know that area pretty well, you know, so we go through there a lot. But yeah, look, it's interesting you say this, you know, the idea of, and I'm glad that, you know, you mentioned it, the fact that often, you know, you people, inadvertently or otherwise, I don't know, you know, people say, oh, it's scary, and look, it's not scary, but that idea of that, you know, they actually instill that fear into you for some unknown reason. I don't know why, but, you know, I encounter there a lot, especially around hunting. So people will have this perception of, you know, like, you know, how scary or how dangerous it is, but it's like any kind of skill you develop over time. I mean, look, let's be honest. You are dealing with an animal that has no interest in you other than either going over the top of you or going around you. But other than that, you know, you're in a situation where you've got a level of control coming to do a lot to do with the skill level you got. So I'm glad that you got the good dogs, and you told him that, nah, I'm going to keep going. Because some of the stuff, you know, I know that's kind of led into more things. And I saw a recent post you were going to be at a particular event or something like that. Like, so what's that?
Yeah,
event?
so Dingoes, Hogs and Dogs is a pigging comp. So it's meant to be hogs and dogs. So you use your dogs to catch the hogs with your pigs. And everyone these days have thermals. So to me, a thermal is cheating. I use my
okay, well, sure. Put it back in the top.
And like the idea of the competition is hogs and dogs. So you're using your dogs to catch pigs, and there should be no thermals involved, because your dog should be able to do that job. That's their job. That's what they're made to do. That's what they want to do. So I rely on my dogs. And so Hogs and Dogs reached out to me, and they said, "Hey, do you want to be a special guest? You can do a meet and greet." And I was very, very flattered, because I don't see myself as like a huge like called me a celebrity guest, which I don't see myself as a celebrity guest, but which is really exciting. It's so good, because Dingo's not that far away from where I am, and it's a good opportunity for me, I reckon.
Yeah, Dingo's between Emerald and it's on the other side of Emerald, isn't it? Or is that outside?
Yeah, so like Blackwater, Emerald.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, so I didn't quite catch it. It was at Dingo. I thought it
was chasing Dingo.
That's right. I thought the name was Dingo.
Oh, yeah.
As in Dingo, an animal, not Dingo, the location.
Yeah.
So how's thermals cheating with? One thing. How do you use a thermal with pigs?
The shooters or pig chasers these days have the thermal on their spotlight on their roof, goes down a big cable, and it sits like a big screen sits on your dash, and you drive around.
That's
so
it.
With the iPad or something like
and
that.
And then you saw the dogs, and you're like, hey, no, your dogs are supposed to do that work. Like, that's the whole point.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So the thermal will pick the pigs up before the dogs pick the pigs up.
I bloody hope not. My dogs will pick.
No, that's what I thought. I actually look.
Yeah, I think the dogs are better.
I say this in all honesty, because I use thermals a little bit, and you know, I would have thought a dog's
Well, I think they're
So-
probably keeping their dogs on the truck, aren't they? And then spotting them with the thermal and then bailing them.
Yeah, so basically, what they're doing is they might be shopping. They might be going, not that one, not that one. Oh, this one, yeah, okay, yeah.
They
That makes
basically a
sense.
drop dog, but to me, working pig dogs that they're working off the back, they're smelling. I do have a thermal, but I use it when my dogs jump and I can hear something going on and I'm not too sure what's going on. I'll have a peek through my thermal to see, like, is it a big pig or whatever, but I don't like drive around because I've only got like a look through thermal. I don't have, just like a little viewfinder thermal. So
Mine's
it's not like I can drive around and like look through it and drive at the same time. That's impossible.
No, well, we carry handhelds.
Yeah.
And Ian's got now, or was it John? He's going to get there's one that, a rifle mount.
That's the Burris. Yep, I'm getting that tomorrow from Ian.
Yeah, the Burris rifle. I carry a Burris handheld, because I go up before dawn and it's a cattle property, so I just kind of scan and in fact I've seen wild dogs on it, which has made the property owner happy. But so I use them. But I was trying to figure out how you use them in that sense, because I would have thought the dogs. But I dare say what they're doing is they're shopping.
Yeah. So
stay dog. This one.
I'm not totally against the use of thermals. Like, definitely if you're deer shooting, if you're chasing dingoes, wild dogs, etc., 100% use thermal because those can be really tricky shots. But for someone who is strictly just dog use only, I think that have a bit of confidence in your dogs and let the dogs do the job, and so that's what they're there for.
Yeah, I suppose it's got to do with competition. As soon as you introduce competition, people want to win.
Absolutely.
That's it.
So are thermals allowed in the competition? Or
I don't know. I really hope not, because it's the name of the game is hogs and dogs. But I'd say everyone's going to use their thermal, so I'm just going to have to go hard or go home.
That's it. And it's assuming it's size, isn't it? It's weight and length.
So they have heaps of like different prizes and categories. There's like biggest pig, biggest barra, which is pig with no nuts.
Chop.
And biggest sow. Then they have like mystery weights, so they can have like all different. It could be like 50 kilo, 60 kilo, 70 kilo, like all different type of weights. So that like. So they've categorized the different. There's heaps of different like prizes you can win, and it's really cool event.
Yeah, well, I've seen some of the balls you've put up, and they are some monsters. So hopefully you can come across a couple of them.
I know. When I got that really big fella the other week, I was like, "Fuck, I should have let him go for the comp."
Stick him on ice and pull him out on the Tuesday. Hey, look at that's what I got here. Leave him. It's a bit smelly, but
Well, I look at that.
He's a monster.
If he's big, I'm sure he's got some brothers and sisters running around that big.
Yeah,
it must be.
So I've just left that paddock alone. I'm not going to hunt that paddock until the pig comp.
So, have you hunted into the territory with
No, so I kind of avoid the territory. I'm petrified of crocs. I know, like, obviously you can go, more like central and south, but I am petrified of crocs because I don't know a thing about crocodiles. Obviously, don't have any crocodiles where I live, and safety of my dogs is like really big because I love my dogs. Like everyone loves their pet dogs. So last thing I want them to jump in the water because that's where pigs are going to go and get taken by crocs. So it doesn't really interest me. Like, I suppose if someone like wanted to do a trip up there as like a combined hunt, maybe like I just have to be with someone who knows what they're doing though.
Yeah. Well, we were up there in September
last year.
And this trip, so I was up in northern Queensland some years ago, but this last trip we were in September, and I only saw freshies. You saw salt.
Brian and I saw a salty. Yeah, we came up on a piece of water, and there was this huge head just sticking out with these two eyes and looking at us, and you've really got to have your wits about you. Yeah, you really do.
Because we were chasing buff.
Yeah.
And
and pigs.
And pigs. I didn't get a pig. But
I didn't get a pig.
I got a buff. So, but I shot two buff. Well, I shot 2. One of them's in the water, and I said, I'm not. That's where it stays. I'm not getting in there to get that thing out. I didn't want to get in the water with it. I said, nope,
Did you even get a photo?
Like, yeah, sure. Yeah. Got a story. Well, actually, the story's. I think the next Australian Hunter it's in that. Our story's in that. So yeah, I got a. So Jono. So we'd been there for so we had 5 full days of hunting. We were hunting on foot, so we were doing on average about 20 k's a day. So we, it was hard yakka, and we hadn't. So I think it was day 2. We saw our first herd of buff, and they were and we went, it was like 40 or 50 of them, and we went, Jesus, how do you approach this? And there's a couple of big herd bulls.
Big bull. Yeah.
Typical, big, long. And, he's doing that thing, his nose up in the air and he's sniffing us. And I was lining up on a shot and then he moved and I thought, I don't want to be chasing him through the scrub. So that was our first encounter. And then we didn't see anything for a number of days. Saw a couple of pigs, and Ian shot bloody Hogzilla, this massive sow. Oh God, it was big.
Not as big as your ball, I'll give you that, but for a sow,
huge sow. It's this huge thing. And then we moved. We went to a lagoon country where there was crocs, and one afternoon we were high up on this escarpment, looking over this lagoon, which was actually kilometres long wetlands, and we could. I had the camera with me and I could zoom right in. But I was sitting on top with the binoculars and I went, oh man, you should see the size of this buffalo. And then we realised, that's a pig. It was shot from a kilometre away. It was just huge. Huge. We could see it. And then we went, there's another one. But next door property on this wetlands. And, it was just... So I watched them. But then Jono struck first and you got 2, didn't you?
I got, when we were at the other... Just before we saw those buffalo, I got a donkey. Feral donkey. But then we moved, and then I think it was the 4th afternoon, I got 2 buff. Brian, I think, got 2 as well.
Oh, Brian flattened everything, mate.
Yeah.
It was on fire.
So 2 buff. I got 2 buff that afternoon. And then the next afternoon, you and Ian got.
Yeah, we split up, but we both got. So, Jono shot a donkey.
Cool.
So for the rest of the week, for the rest of the week, he shot little Pedro, the burro. Because when Pepe, Pepe. Because when people think of a donkey, they think of the kids' zoo donkey. These things, 3/4 horse type thing.
Yeah, huge. Yeah,
big animal.
Yeah, very big. Yeah.
So when we Ian went one way and I went the other way. We both struck gold and I got 2. I got a small and a smaller bull, but I also got. I really wanted one of those ones that the horns really curled up, like an Indo style, bull, like a more Asian style, and I got one. It's downstairs on the garage floor, just putting it on a Campfire board now, so it's ready to go up on the wall. But that was pretty special. I shot the first one. And I didn't even see the second one and it was a headshot on the first one, and it was like all over, and then this one burst out of the water and it just went up, and I just started hammering it, and I because I had a 3-shot rifle, so I was down to 2 shots, so I put 2 in it, and then I was single loading it, just walking up on it, single loading it, and then it is down on the ground and it's finished. And I was only like about 20 yards away from it, and I kind of went, I probably should have thought a bit more about that when I did in real hindsight, But the adrenaline took over, and I just kept going. But it was pretty exciting times. But certainly, we saw lots of freshwater crocs, but Jono actually saw the salty, and yes, you would have to real consideration about how to, run them with dogs.
Absolutely.
In that area. The reason I asked was I was just wondering that the conversation I had of many people was the different kinds of pigs you see in, say, central Queensland compared to what you see in the Northern Territory, and the idea was they're always more tusky up north, but bigger bodied down south.
So even within Queensland, the difference, you go down that mulga country, the boars don't get as big. Like a big boar in the Mulga country would be like 80 kilos. And then you'd have like a 40-kilo little boar with like tusks like this, right, in the Mulga country, because like there's a lot of dogs, a lot of wild dogs. So I found the more wild dogs, the tuskier the pigs are, like naturally. Yeah,
Really?
and you go to like places like Emerald. There's still wild dogs there, but like not as much. And the pigs don't have really big tusks; they only have little tusks. So like the couple fellas that I've been getting here lately have got tusks because there's lots of wild dogs on the place that I hunt. But that's what I found. The more wild dogs, the bigger the tusks. And even on the smaller pigs, like the little pigs, especially in the Mulga country, they have some really rank teeth for like little pigs.
Yeah, because I shot a pretty big pig up in the Brisbane Valley, but he was massive, but he hardly anything.
No teeth. There's not that many dogs there.
Huge body. There is, but again, he's not worried. That's an interesting observation, because that was it. There was the kind of old, theory was that further north, not so big a body, but bigger hooks. And you're actually saying you think it's in where it's got a lot to do with the predation that things prey.
That's what I reckon. Because like today I saw 3 dogs today. That's a lot to see 3 dogs.
Especially during the day.
So there's a lot of dogs in this country, especially in the Mulga country, and that's what I've just taken notice of, like the tusks, the tusks with different growths. Like for those little pigs, like 40-kilo pigs that have dog killer tusks, up here they might not be as big because at 40 kilos their tusks are only as little, but when they start growing a bit bigger here, because the dogs are not really getting into them, I found they have smaller tusks naturally.
Okay.
That is very, very interesting.
So do you have to control the dogs where you are? Is that one of your jobs? Or?
Yeah, if I see them, I'll shoot them. But I don't particularly just chase dogs. But yeah, if I see them, I shoot them, definitely for the cocky. Where I work, my boss isn't too phased with them. So they're not really annoying the cattle. If they start getting into the cattle, that's when her mind will change. But they're kind of just travelling through, so my boss doesn't worry too much. But yeah, if I do see them, I do shoot them.
I remember we went on a guided hunt up in back at Hewenden in the Basalt country. With a guided service, and we found out later that we weren't the only ones who had a story. Me and my mate referred to it as the greatest farm stay in history, because we spent 7 days on a cattle station in Basalt country, and we didn't see a single pig, and we're 12-hour days. And so as we said, it was the greatest farm stay ever. And we had this. It was a fantastic story in that how bad it was. Like this guy was a guide. It was a guided hunt. We paid him some coin and
pay me some coin. I'll show you some.
and look, we may very well be having part 2. Okay, so just keep your hands in pockets for the moment. But let's get to that. But we had a camp and he fed us every night, and he was hitting the grog pretty hard. So he kind of cooked for us, and then he'd go. Yeah, we were intense. He had a caravan, but it was like a static caravan, set up on the site. So he'd go in and we'd hear him. He'd be in there getting drunk, and then he'd be arguing with himself, and we'd be sitting outside going. And I don't remember exactly. Actually, I do. He was saying that he had some clients before, and they used to every morning they'd go, "Take me to the pigs." That's how they would start the day. And he said he found it really annoying. So by the third day, we were doing it. Take me to the pigs. Take me to the pigs. And I tell you something, when we drove up there, we went up through the wetlands of back at Taroom. We saw pigs all through that wetlands. And we were driving up, we was going, "Oh mate, we're going to have warm barrels by the end of this week. This is going to be, bacon's going to be stacked a mile high." Drove all the way up there, saw pigs everywhere. Pigs on the side of the road, degs, pigs, live pigs all the way up there. Get to the property, no pigs. 7 days, don't see a pig. I kid you not, this is not a lie. I even think I got a photo. We were driving out, and just as we crossed the water bar to get out, and it was on a little creek, we looked down, there's pigs on the creek there at the front gate, kind of waving us goodbye. And so yeah, that was my experience of northwest Queensland pig chasing. Was the best farm stay ever.
It's always the way. Like I saw 50 pigs this afternoon.
Yeah.
And it was.
That's it.
But it's the same mob that I see all the time. Like I see the same mob, and then it was a different mob that I hadn't seen before. But a big fella ran out in front of me, a big black and white bull, and he must be the daddy to the babies because they're all black and white. And he's about 80 kilos. He's a good lump, like 80, 90 kilos, but just like big shoulders on him, big solid fella, and I reckon he put up a good fight. But yeah, I was out checking the ball, so can't really do much.
There you go. Yeah. So yeah, because I'm a frustrated pig hunter. I hunt deer and I hunt deer and I hunt everything else, but it always comes back to it. If the one thing, it would be pigs. That was it for me.
I've got plenty of pigs. You should come up.
Though I'm not particularly successful, and I think that's why I'm so frustrated by it. And I tell you something, I like hunting the mice with shotguns. I like getting in real close on them.
Not for me.
Yeah, getting real close on them. That's I shot the last one I shot was at about 10 yards with the shotgun. That was pretty good. I enjoyed that a lot. So I suppose we might as well touch on your television level of celebrity, since you're being invited to cut ribbons and open events.
Celebrity status.
So I suppose, like so many people in around the hunting and the game, we first heard about you on that show. Though look, honestly, I've never watched the show.
I'm not stressed.
No, that's it. So please, and that you cop some, I suppose, flack, which is not an unusual thing if you do anything outside of the ordinary for most people, about the fact that you're on a show called Survivor and you were actually hunting, and people thought that was an ill-conceived idea. And I remember I made some smart-ass comment like, they're gonna the only person on the show that could survive is actually the one that's calling on the flack. So, I mean, how did you get to Survivor?
So years ago, I applied for Big Brother. So I'm a Big Brother fan. So Big Brother. I love Big Brother. Always have been. I was like, I'm just going to give it a crack. I applied, made it like right to the end of the auditions. Had to go to Brisbane, did like live auditions, and then they did like some filming and stuff. Then obviously never got it, and then I don't know how they even got my number, but this random British guy, Pommy, called me and he was like, hey, we want you for Australian Survivor. And I was like, haha, funny joke, He's like, no, I'm not a scam. Like, I'm real. Like, this is true. I'm like, yep, no worries, mate. Like, that's, all good. He's like, yep, we booked you in for a video call with the producers on Friday. So you just be ready. And I was like, yeah, no worries. Like, whatever. It's just, I went straight over my head. Like, I texted my family. I was like, got this weird phone call. But, anyway, I was at a camp draft that Friday afternoon drafting, and I was out in the yard riding my horse, and then they called me, and they're like, are you going to take our call? Or I was like, oh, shit, righto. So obviously this is real. So I was like, give me a sec, I'll race back to my camp, and I had like, my float set up and my horses in the background. I was all dressed up for a camp draft, and my horse would not stop neighing. It just kept going off and off. And I was like, oh my God. And they're just laughing. The producers are just laughing the whole time. And I was just very much myself. And so they emailed me, like, I didn't do an audition tape or anything. And they just emailed me and said, no, you're cut. And I was like, oh, that's fine. I didn't apply for the show anyway. Then 3 weeks to fly out, they're like, get your passport. Let's go. We're going. Like, you're going. And I didn't know where I was going. Had no idea until, like, the day I was flying to Samoa. They're like, because the airport's like, where are you flying today? And I'm like, looking at my chaperone. I was like, where are we flying? Like, like where are we going again? And yeah, so they, and then like the airport lady's like looking at me all weird, and she's like, I was like Samoa, so.
So she's sending you signals. Are you okay? Are you okay?
It was so dodgy.
Do we need to let border before snow?
It was so dodgy. But yeah, so yeah, 3 weeks to fly out. I was like to my boss, I was like, hey, I'm gonna quit. I'm doing a TV show. I'm really sorry. And they were really, really good about it. He's like, yeah, just stay here for as long as you need and whatever you like. He's like, you can just finish up this week because we don't want you getting injured or anything because I'm very injury prone person. And he's like, no, like you just finish this week off. Like we don't need you getting hurt. I was like, righto. And yeah, he was really good about it. And off I went to Samoa to play Survivor.
So Australian Survivor wasn't filmed in Australia.
No.
Well, there you go. I've learnt something new. I thought by the very fact it was Australian Survivor, it'd be filmed.
I was hoping.
There you go. So it's filmed some. Yeah, well, yes. That's what you said. A passport. I went, where are you going?
Yeah, so in a few years it was filmed in Australia because of COVID, but then so then COVID's all finished kind of thing, and so they sent us over to Samoa.
Sure. So how long were you there for? Because when we were talking, you said I can't talk because it's still it hadn't been released or something like that. So how long were you actually surviving in Survivor?
So I was roughly there for 31 days. Not in the game itself. Okay. I wish I got that far, but so I made it. We flew there. We had to stay there a week, and we did like pre-interviews, pre-filming, like us sitting in those trucks and stuff, and did a few of that. But then I think like the crew got COVID or something, so we were stuck in this little room for 7 days, and I wasn't allowed to talk to anyone. I wasn't allowed to go out. I wasn't allowed. I was given 3 meals a day. I could pick from the menu, and then we did like photo shoots and stuff, and it was very boring sitting in that room. And I wasn't allowed a TV, no iPad, no phone, but there was a radio clock in there, so I used it to put the radio station on, the local radio station. So I had some sanity. I read Crocodile Dundee's biography. They gave me that book, so that was pretty interesting.
What's Hell West and Crooked?
Sorry?
Is that Hell West and
No,
Crooked?
it was just about him and like how he became about kind of thing and stuff.
Oh, okay.
So it was interesting. And then I was in the game for 19. I got voted off on the 19th night, like right at the end. Yeah, so 19 days in the game. Then I stayed for a couple more days to do some exit interviews and catch-up interviews, and then flew me over to Fiji because I couldn't get a flight straight home. So I stayed in Fiji for a day and then flew home.
Wow.
And were you couldn't talk about the game or the show or anything like that once you got
No,
back?
I couldn't say anything. Well, I had 3 weeks notice. So I obviously told my family, and I had to organise someone to look after my dogs, because in the game, if you're sent home in the first half, you go home. But if you are sent to jury, you stay there. Like you're stuck there for the 45 days, which is a very long time. So I had to organise everything for my animals, my horses, dogs, like all my stuff, and it was quite hectic. So I had to organise all that as well. But yeah, so 19 days in the game essentially, but I couldn't say a word when I got out to anyone, but everyone knew I was gone for some reason. And yeah, so like obviously my family knew and my close friends, but no one that I could really tell publicly in case they like outed me.
Yeah, because it was still being aired on TV and stuff.
Oh,
like
so
that.
we actually filmed in August, September, and it didn't come out till end of January. So I had that whole period to like not say anything.
So really, if you think about that, you know, the bubbleheads that were complaining about you, they're actually complaining about something that was so far in the past. You know, they're screaming and shouting about something that's it's already been and gone. It's already happened.
Oh yeah, no.
That's it, isn't it? It's like they think they've discovered the brand new thing. That actually thing is actually well gone. It's well in the past. Amazing, isn't it?
And did the producers know anything about your
course they
background? About your? They must have. Yeah.
They looked at my
Possibly.
Instagram. So
Yeah.
obviously they had Rogue on there, who's an animal activist. I would call her an activist, animal activist, and so obviously they wanted some drama, and that's why they put me and her on the same tribe. And I shut that down very quickly as soon as we're on the beach on the first day, and we're all announcing like who we are, what we do, and she's like, "Oh, I save lions, and I am against trophy hunting," and I was like, "Oh my gosh." I was like, oh my god, this is going to be a nightmare. Like, so I just like, when we finished all that, I like beelined it to her and I was like, hey, look, I'm a hunter. I've been to Africa. I've done trophy hunting. I will not talk about hunting around you if you don't like bring up your animal activist shit around me. I said, that's what the TV wants. I said, let's not do that. I was like, let's just make an agreement. And she actually stuck through it, which I'm surprised.
Okay.
Okay.
I didn't know you'd been to Africa. I didn't know that was a. So there you go.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw the pictures.
There you go.
So I'm South African. So obviously I saw the pictures. You got a nice kudu, a warthog. Did you get anything else?
Yeah, so I didn't shoot anything else. Like that's all I could kind of afford. Because a kudu cost me $2.5 US back in 2014. So 10 years ago, just about. And the warthog was free, so it was so kindly of them.
Okay. Whereabouts did you
we
go?
went to Thabazimbi.
Oh, Taba.
Yeah.
Thabazimbi,
And we also shot, I think we shot 3 zebras, wildebeest, gemsbuck, eland, and what else did we shoot? Other warthogs and impala. And like, what are those like really small, like mini?
There's a few. There's a darker. It was probably in a darker.
Yeah, little horns.
Yeah, darker. Darker.
Yeah.
So there was 4.
The tiny.
Yeah, so 4 of us went over.
Tiny 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh wow! So who'd you go with to sell that? So who was your African?
Yeah. So some really close family friends who've been there before. I went over with, and they've done a couple trips. And so they were just like ticking some stuff off on their bucket list. And yeah, my grandfather was like, you should go. So I went and I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun, and it's very similar to home, like African bush and Australian bush. I felt very, very.
Yeah, Thabazimbi would be. Yeah, that would be very, very similar. Yeah. And you said you want to go back? Is that?
So definitely want to go back. Obviously, being a busted ass ringer, I don't earn a lot of money. So maybe when I do a career change and get some savings behind me, I definitely want to go back and get a few on my bucket list. I really would love to get a giraffe, and I think like a lot of people, I don't like saying it too much that I want to get a giraffe, because a lot of people look at me like, why the hell would you want to shoot that? And I'm like, I don't know, it's different. Like you don't understand.
It's very different.
Yeah. I tried explaining this, like they're not exotic animals to South African people or the African people, you know. And it's like,
it's exotic to people everywhere.
I know,
else,
it's so frustrating, and I think it's just people with tunnel vision, and there's no point arguing with them. Just let them go.
No, shit. Yeah,
that's right. But I'd love to get a gemsbuck and a giraffe, and what else would I like to get? Probably an impala, just something a little bit different. But yeah, so obviously, of course, depends on budget as well.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
That's an expensive so I went back. Yeah, I went back in 2018. It's the last time I went back just before COVID. I got a gemsbuck and an eland on that trip. But yeah, I've shot impala, blessbuck. I've shot most of the species. So just not big 5. That's kind of fought out. That's a long way off. But no, yeah, I hope you get back.
It's funny to talk about that, because last week we were talking to Peter Ryan, who's a New Zealand-based author. He's probably one of the best authors getting around, and hunting Africa is one of his major experiences. I think he's been there 14 times or something like that. And he was saying, you know, the similarity between once you get to the countryside. He was talking about in the Southern Hemisphere how, you know, you can be in different countries, but there's a great deal of similarity between when you're away from the city and that stuff like that, and you're in those. There is this kind of connectivity right across the Southern Hemisphere. He was talking in the fact, you know, he was in Argentina and things like that, and he still felt that language different, slightly different food, maybe different way of approaching it, but there is this really interesting similarity across all those areas about how people live and how they go about hunting and you know what it means to them in terms of an activity.
The Wild South, as he called it.
Yeah, the Wild South. That's what he talks about.
Which is the name of one of his books. So.
Yeah, his first book is Wild South.
So other than Australia and
South Africa, they're the only places I've hunted. I found really cool over in Africa when we went to like the sow yards. Like it was like to them it was the African animals, and like to me a sow yard's like you go and buy cattle from the sow yards, right? And you go to the sow yards and they're like under the ground and like really high fences and like all the different animals they've got like for sale. It was really cool. I actually really enjoyed that. I think the most was the sow yard.
Yeah, so the game auctions are you can go there and buy whatever species of game is on offer. And for instance, I've got one of my best friends. He's got friends who are that's what they do. They've got rid of all their cattle on their farms and they farm game. That's what they do. It's all half fenced, and they breed and they'll buy in genetics. They'll buy in monster bucks and that sort of thing to breed, and then they'll sell them off and they make a fortune from it. They make a lot more from game than they do from cattle. It's an industry over there. I mean, obviously, you still got the cattle industry.
Yeah, I think Australia needs to get behind that because croc hunting should be a thing in Australia. People would pay huge money to go and shoot an Australian crocodile, especially the Americans. I think Australia should look at that more often. And even if, like, a certain amount of tags went out a year, and it can make so much revenue from that.
Absolutely.
Well, we've had Nick Donato talking about that, and he's very much behind that. So you should talk to him. He's a member of Parliament here in Queensland. He's for CAP, and he's very much a hunter and sports shooter, and he thinks that the tag system and some kind of regulated recreational hunting for crocodiles would be one in terms of control, because he says they're starting more and more see them where he was giving an example. There might be a kid when he was growing up, but it was okay to play in that creek, but now it's like maybe you shouldn't play in that creek, and so it's an interesting thing. I mean, when I was up in the Gulf country, you realised during the day you would see crocs when you're out on the boat. We went up there, we had 11 days fishing in the Gulf, and in the daytime you'd be scooting along on the water and you might see a croc come up and go on, or you might go near a bank and you might see one on a bank and stuff like that. So you saw them, but they were like, oh yeah, okay, they're here. You come into that Karumba ramp at night, and and someone's on the tiller and you're on the front of the spotlight, and you hit the water and there's just eyes, just the gates like little flies everywhere. Just going, oh yeah, okay, so just throttle up, get it up on the ramp. I'll jump out. Won't touch the water. I'll skip across the water, get up, get the car, reverse back. No one goes near the water. It's just full of crocs, and that was back in 2003.
Well, the fishermen got taken.
Last week. Well, I think they've had 4 this summer. They've had 4 incidences, and it looks like this guy, was actually killed by one. But they've had 4 near. Well, not.
But because of that incident, they've killed 2 crocs. So how much money could they have made from selling a tag to 2 crocs?
It's ridiculous. Australia needs to wake up to themselves a little bit.
Well. We argue about it. I mean, like, they talk about, the cost of deer. Victoria make $200.
Yeah, it's incredible. Like, the amount of, like, hunting, like, people hunting put back into, the revenue of the states. Like, it's not just paying for, tags or whatever, but there's fuel, food, supplies, hunting supplies, anything like that, and even just like paying accommodation to stay somewhere or anything like that, you're putting into those small businesses and small towns, but that just people don't realise.
Well, I mean, that's how, like, you know, there's 1,500 blokes in Brisbane
Yeah,
who know
yeah.
what Inglewood is. It's the reason why we can have a discussion about, we think we know where your parents' property is because we know Inglewood. So it's not because we go down there, chasing bumblebees. It's that we drive through there so many
That's
times
right.
going hunting, and we
That's
if we
right.
go through the day, we get a feed.
Yep. Put fuel
And
in.
if we go,
Food.
that's right, a fuel. And if we go through the night, we're still driving through there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it. That's that constant traffic, and Severn State Forest is booked out nearly constantly. It's only a 4 to 5 person forest, depending on what work's going there at the time. It's booked out constantly, and in that particular forest, 90% of the people who are booking that New South Wales forest are Queenslanders who are driving down from and not just from Brisbane. There's guys who drive down from Central Queensland to hunt there, and all the way down they're spending money all the way down, and they're spending money all the way back. We're going to Nundle in July because we go down every year. I go down with my son and some friends to hunt during the winter down there in the state forest, in the pine forest. Got a mate who wants to come with us. He's not going to hunt. He just wants to come along. He's going to stop at Hunting Haven, which is a really good store in Armidale, and buy all the buy all the appropriate clothing from down there, because one, it makes sense, and two, it's right there. So it's just a constant generation of income. I remember we did a 10-day road trip hunt back in 2018, and we pulled into Narrabri, and at the time, under the public land system in New South Wales, you had to have printed maps. You can use electronic now, but you had to have the printed paperwork. So what would happen was you could kind of, as soon as you got signal on your computer, you could book a new forest, but you had to find somewhere to print it out. So we pulled into Narrabri one morning and kind of Googled printers in Narrabri, and we went to this printer. But what we didn't realise, it was the newspaper. They had photocopy machines, but we didn't know it was the newspaper. We just so we go in there and we say, hey, look, we need to get this stuff printed out. We got on a memory card, and they go, who are you guys? And go, well, we're down hunting. And the woman literally said, stay here. And she went up and got the editor, and he goes, come up here and tell me what you're doing. So we're in with the editor, like Perry Mason or whatever, with all the pretend old typewriters all over, what you might think of an old country newspaper editor. And he's talking to us, and he goes, I need you to go down to the Tourist Bureau and do an interview for me. Okay. So me and Tim lobbed down there. We've been sleeping out of the car for 7 days, and we're doing at the Tourist Bureau. We do this interview about we're travelling around all these country towns spending money hunting. And he just said, that's exactly what we need.
Yeah, it's a shame. Yeah, well, Australia needs to look into that, and I think that hopefully one day it'll change. But right now, I think the more us hunters get behind it, the better.
Yeah,
definitely.
Won't get a peep out of us on that one.
Are there any guys offering sort of hunting opportunities out west where you are? Are there people like outfitters and that sort of thing bringing hunters out, or is it all just
I think
cattle
some stations might have, I think you go online and then you can find hunting stations, like that Lao hunting, and you got to pay.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what's that called? There's
inland.
So I think there's that. But yeah, I don't need to do that because I've got my own country tied up, and I just run myself and my dogs. But there is definitely places where you can pay to go and hunt. Yeah.
Because I said, I think that's one of the challenges. Or we know it's a challenge here in Queensland, that there isn't public land access. So for a lot of people, it's easy. It's ultimately easier for them to travel to go find places where they can hunt rather than not hunt. So it's a bit of a shame, but that's the system we currently got. Hey, I wanted to ask you, move a little bit away from hunting, because one of the other things I saw on your Facebook feed is, and I don't know exactly what you're doing. It looks like rodeo. You've got the body armor and the helmet on.
Looks like a ski.
So what's?
It
looks like an ice hockey helmet, or like a
that
lacrosse
is-
helmet or something like that. Yeah.
So
what's
I,
that?
in my spare time, whatever spare time I find, which is not much, I attempt, the word there is key, attempt, to ride broncs, which is bucking horses in a rodeo. We
Okay.
are a very small little association of girls that ride bronc. But we are ranch bronc riding, so it's American. And it's two-handed.
Mm-hmm.
So like with
So it's not one hand in the air, one hand on the rope.
No. American,
Not that style. It's a different style.
Two-handed, and you're in an American roping saddle. So essentially, the idea is that your horse is bucking out mustering, and you're sticking to him. That's the idea of it. And us girls are trying to ride rodeo or rough stock in Australia, but Australia won't let us ride rough stock because we're over the age of 16.
Okay, so explain that to me.
A rough
So
stock's
what's
like
rough
bucking
stock?
broncs, bucking bulls, or steer. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So they won't let you
Because you're over the age of
because you're over 16.
You'd think it should be
Yeah.
under 16 shouldn't be allowed, but
So
Well, they reckon if you make it past 16, you're probably going to stick around, so we should try and keep you around. Under 16, well, if we lose you,
No, who
well,
cares?
it's the way it goes, That's a really weird approach.
so
You're under 16.
we're having big issues with saying it's a safety issue, which is absolute friggin' bullshit.
Well, I agree with them, but it's also a safety issue for
Same thing.
blokes. I
What's
would
the difference
understand.
between
I would assume that
like,
getting stomped by a bull.
Yeah.
I would assume. Look, I don't know that much of it. I love rodeo. I love going to rodeo, and I love watching rodeo. But I would assume that when the bull stomps you, it doesn't
That's
ask
right.
you your gender before it
okay, so the thing
starts
is,
stomping.
they reckon that women can't handle it like men can, right? That's the issue. So, but
Saying like need like a
so I
Nerf
get
ball.
on a bucking horse, and I wear a helmet.
Oops.
Oh no, I've lost yours.
frozen.
Frozen.
Hello, I'm back. Okay.
Yep,
Okay.
You're back. You're back.
Bang, yeah. So you get on a bucking horse. And
Okay,
then
so I
it
get on
froze.
bucking
know it's
horse.
Frozen again.
And us girls, we
Nice,
wear
nice.
helmets, we wear vests, we wear chaps. Like we are wearing safety gear. So we don't have to wear a helmet, but we're trying to get it going in Australia, so we are wearing helmets. And we are talking to the stock contractors personally to make sure we're getting on the right, practical, safe horses for us. We're not getting on a horse that's going to be rearing over in the chutes or, going really hard at it. We're getting on softer horses until we get better because obviously we're trying to be as safe about it as possible.
Okay, this is really interesting. So basically, rodeo over the age of
Yes,
16
correct.
is a
Unless
mandatory
you're
sport.
unless you're a barrel racer.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. Oh, yeah, true. So those type of those technical events. But what you think about rodeo? I said, okay, I never realised that.
So
I've been to rodeos and I've seen it, but I never put the
So
two together.
it's
There you
quite
go.
frustrating because everyone's all about gender equality these days. And like we know we're getting on a bucking horse. We know that. We know we're not getting on something that's going to prance around the arena. We know exactly what we're getting ourselves into. So I don't see why we can't do it. But slowly but surely, small events are letting us ride. And Augathella Easter Rodeo was an absolute huge success for us. We had 4 ladies ride. Myself and 3 other girls who were very talented, and we all rode time. We rode 8 seconds, and us girls got 1st, 2nd, 3rd. And I had another girl that's never been on a bronc before, but I knew she can handle it, I knew she can ride. Really good friends with her. And she got on and rode like 7 seconds, like just didn't make it. Then the boys rode, and one bloke stayed on for 8 seconds. Yeah.
Okay.
wow.
Augafella's the
That's right.
triangle, isn't it? With
Yep.
Charleville.
Yep.
The Augathella
Yeah, so
bypass. Yep.
it was a massive, and the crowd just went wild for us girls getting broncs. The crowd loved it. They could they was like crying out, and like
Look.
Yeah, and it was really good hype, and so we had a very successful. So we're just trying to do like little rodeos at a time to like build it up and get there, hopefully.
Yeah,
Well, look, we support your right to get yourself crushed by a horse or bull or whatever particular angry piece of livestock that you want to kind of try to hang on to. I think, yeah, sure, why not? Go for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I didn't
realise that way.
That's right. This has been quite an eye opener for me. I didn't realise there was such a human rights issue happening in the radio.
Yeah.
Field. There we go. That's fantastic. So are you wanting to move to rough stock, or do you want to just keep promoting this American style one? What's your plans here with your small all-female rodeo?
Yeah, so the main goal is actually the States have a huge world champion ladies ranch bronc finale, like champion. They have a championship. So teams from Germany are going this year. Teams from France are just starting out. Teams from Canada and the States and Australia, right? So they're trying to do like a worldwide thing. Yep. So girls all over the world can go to Cheyenne over in the States and go and compete in the World Championship. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get us girls to be able to ride good so we can go over to the States and ride their horses and compete for Australia, like an Australian team.
Yeah. Is there a way that you have to qualify for that, or
you have to be Women's Ranch Bronc Championship member? You have to pay a membership fee, which is pretty cheap, and then you also have to have scores on the board. Scores, and you've got to be, them horses over there are way tougher than ours. So, yeah.
Okay. So what they're actually kind of breeding them for the event over there type thing. Okay. Whereas you are just trying to find an appropriate horse to use. Okay. Yeah. That's really, really interesting. There we go. I did not know that existed. I didn't know
some of those girls can bloody ride. They outride the men. There's some really, really ranked cowgirls over in the States that I follow, and they just get on the bronc and they just go into town and they just holding on and their hats flying off, and I thought, gee, girl, like, you are tough. Like, they're tough over there. That's for sure.
That's right. Because I see you've got the chest plate and the helmet. Yeah. I suppose, again, when I think about it now, that since the last time I went, you're right. You don't see a lot of, but you do see some people wearing helmets, but it's
just a cowboy hat.
It's a cowboy hat. Everyone wears a cowboy hat, but we're just trying to promote it and let them know that we can do it safely, and that's why we are wearing helmets. Plus I've had accidents where I've been flown off into the railings, and if I wasn't wearing a helmet, I'm pretty sure I would have my head caved in. So I opt out for a helmet for safety for myself, regardless. And I think it's very traditional. Ranch Bronc's very traditional. It's very old school. And it was the first ever Broncs actually before actual Bronc riding. And they're very traditional over there in the States. And they like to wear hats to keep tradition going. But just to get it going in Australia and show, the Australian population that want to watch the rodeo that we can be safe and we are doing it right.
Sure.
And you'll get more
That's right.
girls joining that way as well, as you can prove that it's safe. Yeah.
So when's your next event?
Well, I'm on Tambo Rodeo Committee, so we're going to have a ranch bronc ride there later on this year, but hopefully we can just make it to more events. It's all just making sure that the committee's okay with it and the stock contractor's okay for us as well. But yeah, it's actually getting into camp draft season, so I'll be doing a bit more camp drafting than bronc riding, I think, at the moment.
Okay. So, there's certainly, when I think about camp drafting and what you're talking about, that's two really different wheels that you're approaching there. So, there's not much crossover there. There is a little bit of crossover. It involves horses, but that's about it, So there must be. Is it a very different crowd what you're doing, or is there a lot of natural crossover. Some people, are in both areas, or is it? Do you tend to kind of focus on one
I think
or the other?
as a general horse rider, you do as many events as you do. Fill your weekends up, have fun. But camp drafting, essentially for people that don't know, you have a mob of cattle in a smaller yard. You pick one beast out, you go outside into a big arena, and then you literally chase it around three cones and through a gate. And you're scored on your horsemanship and your stockmanship, and then you get scored and then you win money and stuff. So it's just how well you handle your horse and how well you know your cattle and how to handle cattle. So it's quite a challenge in itself.
Yeah, a good friend of ours, Paul Swan, he does a little. He actually there's one still up in the Brisbane Valley that he just actually was attended not so long ago. He was posting about it. So yeah, and there's a couple of other people on there who were camp drafters. They've got out of it now. They're with age, but yeah. So we did go to a couple of their events as well. So it's kind of different. But I do enjoy rodeo. I must admit, I do. I enjoy looking at it. I enjoy being part of it.
Yeah, you won't catch me on one of them.
No,
I love it. You go behind the shoes, and all the boys are looking at you all funny, and you rolled up there with all your gear, and then they help you get on, and you get on and ride. Then you go up to the bar because you rode 8 seconds, you get free drinks. It's great. Oh, you're the Sheila that got on that bronc. Yeah, it's nice. They're like, have a drink. Great.
So what's next in the 35 seconds you got of your life that's not filled with something or other? What's the next thing for you? Is anything big that you can share?
My bed's looking pretty good.
Well, I doubt if you're particularly too friendly with it by the sounds of it.
No,
you're hardly there.
Yeah, I'm keen to get into a bit more hunting. Really excited. Lift and Lock sent me out a Lift and Lock the other day. I got in the mail yesterday, and I was so excited. I've been waiting for it. I've been waiting to share with everyone about my Lift and Lock, and really excited. So I want to get in and use that and do a few reels and promote them a little bit, because they're just such a little small business and such a great invention. I think we need to get it out there more for those guys. So I'll probably do a little bit of that. I've got a camp draft coming up in 2 weeks, and I've got races coming up. So I try and volunteer as much as I can, and I do I work the bar, or I clean up the next morning around the bar, or if they need timekeepers. I think last weekend I worked the bar at the Tambo Stock Show, and then I spent the whole day announcing the Super Horse Show and the Jackpot Camp Draft, which was an accident. They just needed a hand, so I just started announcing. And so I like to get in the community as much as I can and help out. I love Tambo. It's such a good little town, and I'm starting to get to know Springsure a little bit more, because I'm kind of in the middle. Yeah, so I try and bounce between the two. So the next couple of weeks I've got, the races, I've got a camp draft I'm very excited for, and then hopefully can fit in a few rodeos and hunting in between that and work.
Man, as I said, that's right. There isn't much sleep time in there unless you've got a well-trained horse you can sleep in saddle.
I do not.
Or just rope the wheel of that grader and just let it go for an hour.
This week's been really tiring. Big weekend, obviously a 3-day weekend, so I spent 3 days off, which was good, but I was partying and doing the bar and announcing, and then going seeing mates I haven't seen for a little while, catching up with them, and doing a games night, and then come home and work all week, and then we're working this weekend, and it's a bit rough, but I think keeping yourself busy is pretty important as well. But sometimes I do like to sit at home and have a relaxed afternoon.
Okay. So what's your dog's name?
Names? I have Princess, which is quite a good name for a pig dog.
Be funny. That'd be fun. Someone said to me about dog's name. He said, he said his advice about dog's name is it has to be something you won't be embarrassed screaming at the top of your lungs when the dog won't come back to you.
Oh, shout out Princess.
So I got her when she was 2. Yeah, and she's now 7. So the people who had her before me obviously named her Princess. Terrible dog name, but anyway, especially for a pig dog. She's a Ridgeback cross Arab Mastiff, bit of a bitzer, red dog. She is a cool dog. She's got no teeth left in her head, but she still comes every single trip. Because I can't leave her behind. There's just something in me that just can't do that to her. She's soon to be retired. I just can't do it yet. So she's a ultimate nose dog. She's a great finder. Finds pigs for up to 2K. So, it's a long way, and she's very handy, and she's very dear to me. She's full of scars and battle scars, but just loves it. She'd be so upset if I went without her. So she comes along every trip, and then I have young Penny, who's nearly 2, and she's a bull Arab. She's a lovely bitch. Very sweet-natured dog. Loves to be in my face 24/7. Is attached to the hip to me, which is good. She's also a very handy dog. Smelling off the back, finding pigs. One outs anything of any size. She is a rough and tough little dog, and she's only about 32 kilos, or anywhere from 30 to 32 kilos. So she's not a very big dog. But unfortunately, I cooked her at New Year's. It was a very hot day, and we did a fair bit of walking in some swampy country and cooked her. So unfortunately, she gets knocked up very, very quickly, and so it does happen out in the hunting world, and it's good to talk about these things to other people know, and now I know what not to do in the future with dogs. It's all a huge learning curve. So what she could be now, she could be 10 times better, but because she gets knocked up very quickly, it's a bit hard on her, because once you cook a dog, that's kind of it. They're kind of buggered then for a very, very long time. And she comes, and I just make sure I'm there as quick as possible to get the job done. So she's okay and she's safe. And she still does everything fine, just gets knocked up very quickly. So I make sure, they've got water access all the time. I have multiple water bottles and dog bowls in my car ready to go. Yeah, and then I have another bitch. I only run bitches. I don't run male dogs. I have a bull Arab, which is Penny's half sister. So same mother, different father. And she's only 7 months, 6-7 months old, so she's only just starting out. And she's a cool little pup. And then I do have Bella, but Bella I am rehoming to a lovely fella up in North Queensland, because Bella is not made for the hunting world. She's not interested in pigging and not interested. Yeah. So
okay.
She's too nice of a dog just to dispose of, as you could say. So I'd rather her to see that she went to a really good home and a non-hunting home, because I've tried everything to get her hunting. And some dogs aren't into that, and that's fine. And so I've picked a really nice home for her, and now I'm actually looking for a dog to replace Bella that's actually going and into pigging. So I'm on the hunt for another bitch, and I'm very picky on what breeds I have, and finding it difficult, actually.
Wow. Okay. I was years ago. I was in actually we were fishing in the Gulf country, and we're at purple pub at Normanton, and it was we drove from Corumba up to Normanton and watched the grand final, the league grand final. We're sitting in the corner bar there, and it was one of those really kooky afternoons with lots of lying and carrying on and stuff like that. This tour bus turned up, and it left, and they dropped in and they left. And one of the guys at the bar thought I was the driver. He said, "Your bus is going," and I said, "Yeah, I told him to take the keys. I'm sick of listening to them." And he's going, "What?" I said, "Yeah, I can't deal with them anymore. I told him to take the keys and go." And he was like, "What?" And I said, "Mate, I'm just having a lend to you." And we got talking, and then I realised there was photos of him on the wall with pigs. I said, and he's doing the typical wheelbarrow thing, got the pigs up by the
I don't know why people flip their pigs, but anyway, yeah.
Yeah, he's got wheelbarrow and like that, So and the dogs are and stuff like that. And I said that, I was talking to him. I said, "Man, there's some big pigs there." And I went, and there was one particular dog, and I said, "That's a fine looking dog, that one." And he goes, "Oh, yeah," he goes, "Yeah," and he left, and I didn't realise he left straight away. He just left, and I went, "Oh, okay." And he came back with a pup and said, "Hey, well, here you go." And I went, "Shit, mate, I got to get back to Brisbane." I said, "Mate, I was admiring your dog. I appreciate the offer, but I don't want to take one home." And he gave me one of his. And they were beautiful, a bull Arab cross with the one patch eye and all that kind of thing. They were a fantastic dog. It looked like it was going to be as big as a horse when it grew up. So I had to say, "Mate, sorry, thanks, but no thanks. I can't take it with me. Got nowhere to put it." But yeah, it was a really nice afternoon, and these guys they lived to hunt pigs up there. That's what they did. They worked, and as soon as the work was over, they literally go home, pick up the dogs, and go for a drive in the afternoon light to see if they could find anything. Come home, eat. They might go out again. So they were just constantly either on the wheel. Yeah, that was me last year. Before Survivor, I was at least twice a week during the week after work. It was nothing for me to drive like 2K up the road, catch an 80-kilo bull, and righto, that's good enough. I'm going to bed. So I'd do that, and then Friday night would come around to be hunting all night Friday night, all Saturday, throughout the whole entire night, all Saturday morning, halfway through Saturday, have a lunchtime nap, get up, do an afternoon run, hunt all night Saturday night, and then come home for half a night, and then get up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, Sunday morning, and go again. And that's when I've been catching them real big fellas 2, 3 in the morning, very, very early mornings. And then Sunday afternoon it'd just be righto, settle down, get ready for work. But when I'm full on pig chasing, that's what I do. I'm full on hardcore all day, all night. Pull up for a little nap if I need to. Red Bull gets me through.
Hardcore.
That's it. Look, it's been great. As I said, I really appreciate you coming on when we first spoke, and I was keen to have a chat, and we were waiting for the the fallout from Survivor to be over before we get you on. So I'm really glad we got you there. And as we were talking in the beginning, I thought you're far more interested in that silly 5 minutes of TV, and it's some fantastic stories there. Yeah, Paige, we really appreciate your time. And
no worries. Thanks guys so much for having me on. I appreciate that. It's great. Anytime, I'll come back.
Oh yes, well, we're going to talk about some important stuff later on, but deal with chasing pigs. Yeah. But so we really. I look forward to having you back again, and all the best with you're fighting a good fight for you to have the right to get smashed by a bull. I think that's that's equality in action. If you want to get stopped by one of them things, well, all power to you, lady. Fight the powers. Make them change their mind. Okay.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Paige.
Bye.